Okay, Navy's behind us. You know, we had a great crowd, great stadium that night. That was great, really nice to see, and good step for our program, great for national television, and a lot of things. Hopefully we'll have more of those. Wish we could have played just a little bit better. Penalties, a little lack of execution, some things hurt us a little bit. Somebody asked me the other night if there was a turning point in the game. Having looked back at the film and kind of dissected it all right now, I'd have to say it was 14-0. We had them 3rd and 9 coming this way, and we had them in the shotgun, and they ran quarterback draw and made the first down. And then we got Mike's penalty, and then they threw a pass down here to about the 7 and scored. And that sequence, had we been able to make them punt there, you know, that was a pretty big swing, I think. But there were plenty of them in that game and everything. This week we get to play one of the Power 5 conference teams, Big Ten team in Illinois, and get our first road test. This is a team throwing the ball pretty well right now. I think they're in the top 5 in the country in pass offense. Running game hasn't completely clicked. They're pretty solid on defense. This is a bigger, fast team for us to go against. Bigger defensive linemen and things. Good corners. You know, it's a step up for us, but it's be good for our guys. I think they're excited about playing this game, and we'll have to play well, and hopefully I think at this point in time, maybe I always say improvement happens from game 1 to game 2. It might be game 2 to game 3, I hope, a little bit. Kind of get into a rhythm now and play back-to-back games and everything. So we know we'll have to execute, minimize penalties, play much better if we're going to play with these guys.
Coach, how's Mike doing, and how big a blow you lose him for significant?
Mike is unfortunately lost for the season. He'll have surgery tomorrow, I believe. Tore his ACL and his MCL. It was not a pretty sight to see, and probably something that needs to be addressed, you know, in the off season by the rules committee. Those kind of plays, and I'm certainly not pointing any fingers at Navy or anything like that. I just we worry about the welfare of our players, and that one certainly, if you watched it at all up close, you'd say the same thing. It was not a good hit. It was an illegal hit, but tough one.
I think it's a chance for your defense to kind of go back to what they're used to when you're going up against a spread team. They see that kind of team every day in practice.
Yeah, it's, you know, we can get out of this Navy 3-back stuff and get back to normal football kind of right now and see, you know, things more like what they see on a daily basis. So it is good. I'm kind of interested to see how quickly we make the transition back today. We did some work Sunday against each other just to kind of accelerate some of that stuff, but I think it is nice to get back to playing a little more conventional offenses. Now, they're playing with some pretty good players, so that complicates things a little bit, but it's be better for us.
With the Racco side running a training down and started last week against Navy, 9 tackles, what is his role going forward, especially with the Racco for the season?
Well, it's going to be increased. It's going to be increased for Jared Jeter-Gilman. It's going to be increased for Stephen Smith. You know, when injuries happen, you close ranks, you march on. Somebody has to step up. Everybody has to tighten their belt. And certainly those guys at that position, even David Mayo, all have to tighten their belt just a little bit and step their games up.
Coach, offensive has been pretty hefty in the fourth quarter, second half of the fourth quarter especially. Is that something you prepare the team for and make them aware of that goes directly to the game plan, or is it kind of just an aberration?
Well, I think you mentioned it, and you talked to them about their second half performances, and I think as coaches, we probably absorb that more and say, okay, what's happening in the fourth quarter or second half? Are they just getting more flow into the game, or are the calls changing, or what's happening that lends itself to that success? I don't know. We haven't gotten that far into the game plan yet that I think we've dissected that to that point in time, but we will before the week's over, and if we can make heads or tails out of they're probably trying to figure that out themselves. I'm sure they want to start better in the first half, as I've said before, so I'm not sure we're going to be able to figure it out, but maybe we'll see some things. Sometimes when you live in the forest, you can't see the trees, so sometimes when you live outside of it, you can diagnose some things maybe a little differently.
When you look at the Illinois offense and have West on 2 game-winning fourth quarter drives, what do you think are the strengths and how do you gear up against this one?
Well, he's got a great arm. He's a genuine pocket drop back passer. Not much of a threat to run the football, but he's got a great arm. Seems to, for sitting out a year, he seems to have pretty good grasp of the offense and what he's doing. And, like any quarterback, if you can pressure him a little bit, get him out of rhythm, he's probably, when he has time to sit there and throw, he can pick you apart pretty good. So that's what we're going to need to do a little bit somehow, some way, if we can. And he has good receivers that can make big plays. So you can never take a deep breath with him because he's very capable of finding the guys and very capable of putting it where he needs to put it for him to make plays.
Tom's been a big threat on the option read plays. I mean, he's been taking the ball. I think he had 82 yards the other day. Have you seen that from him? That he's been more willing to run the ball, whereas like last year.
I think he's always probably been ready to do that. I think the fact that he's playing with more confidence helps him play faster and puts him in better positions. I think those are the big things that probably lend itself to some of those things happening, Joe.
Coach, how concerned are you about the team's psyche? Losing a tough one, losing one of its better players. What concerns do you have with the team as they prepare for this?
Well, I think as a coach, you spend 90% of your time sometimes worrying about 10% of the things that happen, but you worry about that with your players bouncing back. One of the, I think, good things about our schedule is we practice on Sunday, so we watch the film, have our meetings, try to put that game to bed, go out and practice and work and start our preparation on the next opponent. You preach to them, you can't let one game cost you twice, and you can't let a win hang around too long either. You got to stay focused on the next game, but as a coach, you concern yourself with those kind of issues, and maybe more so than you need to sometimes, and not enough sometimes. So, when they were dejected after the game, they put a lot into it. They prepared very well. They worked very hard. That's okay. You should feel down about that. There's nothing wrong with that. Commitment to win and to play well and sacrifice when it doesn't work out the way you want to should lend itself to being disappointed. But at some point in time, that has to fade and the focus has to go on to the next opponent.
And you mentioned Big Ten, Power Conference. A lot of people think out of the 5, the Big Ten is the 5th best. Well, how do you view the Big Ten league, and do you feel like they don't get the credit and respect they deserve like the Big 12s and the SECs?
I think all those things go in cycles, and I know the Big Ten's lost a few games, the Bowling Green, Indiana game this past weekend, and some games like that maybe have tarnished a little bit of the season for them, but there's a lot of football to play yet. We'll see how the season transpires, see what the postseason brings. There shouldn't be a lot of separation between those 5 conferences, and who's best right now, I think, is still up in the air, and who's the fifth out of the five. They're still a separate entity, no matter how you want to look at it. They're trying to separate in their legislation, and they've got a little more of everything and things like that, and they've got some advantages. But who's the best with those? I don't know yet. We'll find out. I just got to take care of this one.
Coach, you've had 2 games with the new offense. How would you grade it thus far?
I don't know if I had to give it A through. You'd probably have given about an A- week 1 and about a C- week 2. So maybe we average out to about a B-. We're throwing the ball at a pretty good percentage. We're fairly balanced. We've had success running and throwing. I'm pleased with a lot of things that I'm seeing. I was disappointed. We got our penalties and we had our execution errors Saturday night. We played on the edge a little bit in technique, and that lent itself to grabbing a hold of a jersey or whatever it may have been. There were some calls, quite frankly, on film I can't find. I don't know how they saw them. I've got a top view, 2 rear views, and I can't find them. So they got better eyes than I do, I guess, and those kind of things. But I think if we can stay healthy, we can continue to progress. As the season wears on, people get more and more film. You study each other, but the pace with which we're snapping the ball has been pretty good. So we're better than we were last year, and that was what we hoped for.
The team played a run-heavy offense against Navy. Now we're going to a pass-heavy offense in Illinois. How does preparing against 2 very different offenses help the defense going forward for the rest of the season?
Well, I'm not sure there's anything about preparing for Navy that helps you go forward. I do think Illinois, preparing for them is more like we're going to have in the preparation for the rest of our games. There's always going to be unique qualities on a week-in, week-out basis, but there's no team we're going to face that runs a triple option like Navy does. So that's a total unique situation right there, and it really does nothing to help you for the rest of your season. The rest of the games do help you. This game will help prepare us for conference play more, and their style of offense will be more similar to what we see on a week-in and week-out basis.
I think your guys kind of see this as a chance for a signature win. It's a big opponent, and last week was another chance against a top-notch opponent.
Well, they should. I'm sure we're going to be a pretty decisive underdog in this game, but we've been that before, and going on the road has its challenges a little bit. We'll have to work with crowd noise a little bit more this week, but hey, if nothing else, it's an opportunity. It's a chance to put yourself on a national scale and step up and make something happen, and they should look forward to this kind of game.